Hey guys, welcome back. So today we are going to continue the Jmeter tutorial session number 3 where I came up with one example. So I have an API to test, guys. So that API, usually the way it gets tested, right, when the real time, if we see, first it would be tested, QA tested, verified and signed off, right, and then it would be promoted, the code would be promoted to UAT, and then it would be going to production. Now whether the test UAT production, like how many environments you have, it is a company specific thing, right? Some of them don't have UAT environment, they directly test in the acceptance or whatever you call, right? Some of them they call it SIT environment and test environment or QA environment. So once it gets tested in QA, it directly goes to prod. But usual case would be like the QA tested and then it goes to UAT and then the production. Now if we notice, right, in all of these cases the URLs would be pretty much similar. Like they would give the information of what functionality is being tested and something related to your application specific terms. So the only difference that would be either they would prefix or suffix with this environment name. Like in this case the test environment has the test indicating that it is a test URL. Same way in the UAT environment I have uat.json, right? The method name or the path in my endpoint signifies which environment it is. The same thing with production. So in this kind of real time scenarios, right, if we are having to test one of these APIs, how would we do? Let's go to the JMeter and give a start with this. I would create a thread group for testing the same API that we just got, and my first test would anyway be my QA related testing, right? So I'll add a HTTP request and I'll input everything, HTTPS request, and then my server name. If you haven't checked my breakdown of API URL a video, I would advise you go and check the previous 3 videos related to my APIs and JMeter learning, so that you can be able to pick it up fast. So my API dot mockaru.com is my server name here, and the path is my application test.json. I would give all the 3 URLs in the description if you may have to check them in detail, like where exactly they are getting changed, etc. So you can use them. So this is the breakdown of the API. I have already inputted everything and now I am giving it the key, which is my parameter, and the key here in this case is same. If you notice, right, in all the environments the key is not changing in this particular case. If you have a constantly changing key, right, you have to drive this from the CSV. So that we have covered in my previous session. Now I've given everything. I would add a listener because I want to see the response, right? So they just say add listener and view results tree and try to run this API. Okay, save it before okay, and then I would save this one, and yep, that is run for which environment. If you see the request, it will show my application test environment has got executed, which is very good. Now so if tomorrow if I want to change something, right, the environment, I would go and change it here, I would run it, which is good. So there is one request which is really good to change. But what if you have like number of requests, right? Number of requests which are like 50 or 25 requests that you have to uh, run in the different environments. So we have something in JMeter which is called the config element. If you see user defined variables, just add a user defined variable at the group level and try to add your variable names here. So if you see your request carefully, right, what variables we can make out of it is, you can always avoid giving hard coding the server name. So I would add my server name to the user defined list and I'll create a variable for this, and then my path. So let me show you that part here. So I'll first give the server name, which in this case is my api.mockaru.com. So I have to let the script also know to make use of the newly created variable. So the moment it encounters dollar, it will know that it has to use the variable for this particular field. What did we give? What did we name it? A server name. So that would be picked up. My api.mockru.com would be picked up from the user defined variables and getting into this field. Now let's parameterize this too. I'll copy this, I'll go here, and that is the test environment URL. So that is the um, test environment URL, or we can give method name, right? Method environment, we gave it as my application test. Now the same method environment should be used here in this particular path. So I'll go to my request and replace this with dollar curly bracket, and then this is the one. So it checks for that method environment, and then it understands that, oh okay, this API needs to be run in the test environment because we gave that here in the user defined variables, right? So let me clear this and try to run the script. Okay, the script has run. Let's see the request here. Alright, so what did it take? It took the test environment. Now tomorrow I want to run the same script for my UAT environment. What would I do? I would come here and change the method environment to my UAT. So I want the script to run for UAT, and I will see the result. Let me run this one. Okay, let's check. Okay, it has run for the UAT environment. Similarly for production. So making use of user defined variables, we are defining the method name directly here, and then just by changing which environment we want to run the script, we can make use of user defined variables and change it accordingly. Now one thing I wanted to tell, so this is one way of doing. So if you have like multiple requests, right, it is never a bad idea to actually pass different environments itself here. So instead of giving this, just make it as test environment, or what is this, UAT, right? UAT. Add one more variable for test environment, and give that method here. So I'm copying that, and instead of UAT, this is test. Similarly, I will add one more method variable for prod, and then let us paste it here. Instead of UAT, it would be my prod. Now what did we do is, we see environment wise we have created the method names. Now what we will do here is, instead of saying this as so I'm doing this because what if we have to run the same API once it is in live, there is some regression that needs to be run, right? It is always okay to run like what you would do is, you would usually run it in UAT or production, or you can directly run. So I'm just making this work for all different environments, the same thing. So this is the test environment one. Let me copy this here, and I would put it here so that we know that it is the test environment one. Okay, let me clear this stuff and run the result. Okay, you see my request has run for my test environment. So this same thing I would duplicate the request here and make it for UAT. Okay, UAT. And now the same thing duplicate here and make it for production. I hope you're following what we are doing, right? So we are trying to run the same request on multiple environments at a time, like we do in our real time, right? So usually maybe prod would be out of scope because we may or may not run like production based on the access levels we would be running in production, but UAT and test we usually have access, so we can have it run in different environments. So let me try to run and see what happens. Okay, you see what happened. So I'm simultaneously running a single request in 3 different environments here. So if I want to have the thread group, I want to see how it behaves for different sets of users, right? Let me see how it works. All right, you see, so it ran 15 times, right? So each environment it ran for 5 times. So this is how the main advantage of this is, guys, if you want to have the summary report, let me add that summary report, and that will give us the performance also, right? So I'll try to run this. Okay, you see what happened here. So we know that in test environment, UAT, and production, in 3 environments, when we ran 5 different samples, right, as then 5 different users are using this API, we got the average response times. We see that the UAT is performing way better than our test environment. You know, when you want to report the performance result, or any time, I would always advise any API that we are testing, right, we should always have a look at the performance. If it is very degrading in the lower environments, it is definitely not recommended. Like, we need to highlight that point, because usually what they do is they don't maintain the infrastructures consistent. Okay, that's the problem which QA always have concerns about. We always have to try to talk to different, like, your infrastructure team to have same set of servers, and infrastructure should maintain same across multiple environments, or else one main issue would be the performance issue, and the second thing is some issues we would not be able to reproduce in the lower environments, what exactly in production we are encountering, because of the performance, because of the speed, or because of the way they are set up, right? So it in most, I am so glad that many projects would always maintain it in the realistic way, like, consistently. But if they are not consistent, and if you know that environments have some differences, always talk to them and get this sorted, guys. Okay, so why I am focusing this is like we will get lot of problems just because of this issue. So we can avoid those, at least. Like, for this example, right, we know that UAT is performing better than the other 2 environments. So this way we can always have our own user defined variables and drive them through the inbuilt feature of Jmeter. Also, when in our case, in this current example, we have this key in our request, which is only one parameter, and it is actually consistent for all the 3 environments. So I did not parameterize, but always have the data driven through the CSV, and anything like server name and method name, right? The chances of changing are very less. So that's okay if you define them at this user defined variables level, but the data would be changing more frequently. So always have it driven from the external file, so you don't have to change your script frequently. So this is what I wanted to share with you all today. I hope you got this, and keep practicing, and post your questions in the comment section if any. Stay safe and healthy, guys. I'll talk to you all in the next session soon. Take care. Bye bye.